Testing, testing, sound levels, testing, testing. Well, welcome everybody back to the F1 Brontest 24 for round 3 of our championship. This is Webbo here on the mic and welcoming you to the Circuit de Catalunya at the Barcelona venue here in Spain. A beautiful day ahead of us at this classic racetrack. We just witnessed Cutie Patootie having a very temporary spell on provisional pole position when Zad Soldat came straight back at him and blitzed that lap by a further 0.6 of a second. We'll stay with Cutie Patootie because he looks like he might be trying to finish this lap out, but no. Here in the F1 Brontest 24, we have 2 different winners from the first 2 races, and we look forward to seeing if we can make that 3 for 3 in the race. It looks like one of our former winners, Zad Soldat, is back on top again, but Racecack here might put in a surprise. He's been really struggling to get a lap together here in qualifying, but qualifying is over. This is his final lap. Can he get anywhere near the top of the standing? 6.2 seconds away from the lead at the moment. He does drop down slightly and puts in a personal best, but a lot of work to do when it comes to the race pace here. Now for Racecack, looks like we may be missing our former driver for today, Branko. But here is your qualifying result then. Zad Soldat on pole position on 128.061, 0.6 of a second away from him is Cutie Patootie in the Fleet branding car, and then Racecack in the Brokaga car, who is on a 133.2. But as I say, with an awful lot of work to do before he can get underway. We'll be on track in just a second for you and ready to watch this race from the perspective here now of the watching pole position, and we will see the lights are building. We're ready to get racing. Here we go for 33 laps around Circuit de Catalunya for round 3 of the championship. and it's dropped the clutch, and go, and immediately Racecack off to a flying start. They're going to go 3 abreast down the main straight for a few seconds. Zad Soldat in the second phase of the start gets himself away slightly now, takes the inside line away from Racecack, who has stolen second place already, but he looks like he's got a very difficult car underneath him. He's qualified on the medium tyres though today, and that could explain a distinct difference between the cars. Soft tyres on Zad Soldat, mediums on Racecack, and he's really struggling in the warm-up phase, but actually it's the fleet branding car of Cutie Patootie, also on mediums, who's managed to get himself right up there and potentially challenging back for that second position. As we go racing here with an all-Dutch field, a change to the livery for Cutie Patootie, who likes his livery editor and has gone for the fleet branding. He's gone for a brighter orange and a more clear-cut line between the colours as well today. Still sticking though with car number 22 that took successive World Championships, the car 22 for both Lewis Hamilton and then followed famously by Jenson Button. So a race number with some good cred behind it, as Cutie Patootie spins, unfortunately, coming out of the tricky turn 12, and will light up the rears as he tries to get back underway. Does seem to be a little bit of a glitch with these cars on the Gran Turismo 7 game, that they have this massive tyre light up once they're restarting. So a lot of work then left to do for Cutie Patootie to catch. Now 6.9 seconds is Racecack in front of him, and Racecack himself with a bit of work, with just under 3 seconds after lap 1 to Zad Soldat, who is not in the interests, it seems, at the moment of making this an interesting race. In fact, on the soft tyres, he is dropping the hammer to try and get away. We have 3 times tyre wear, as we had in round 2 for this race, so we will see pit stops be needed off the soft tyre within the first half of our race today. We'll join Racecack on board, shall we, because the car looks to be a real handful for him. Struggling to get into turn 7 and through 8 was certainly... car was very alive. Into turn 9 now, very easy to go wide because it's a blind apex, blind exit of turn 9, and then the big braking zone down into turn 10, slowest portion of the track that could be an overtaking position. That crazy chicane right at the very end of the circuit does form a slightly slower run, but there's only really room for one car through there. That's right here that I'm talking about. Just need to time the trip through over those curbs just perfectly to make the time count. Penalty though on the car then for Racecack for going slightly wide and not letting off the throttle enough. So he now needs to try and find his way through. We'll go for the apex camera now, as we see the car is not moving out quite as much as it looks on this apex camera, but as I mentioned before, possibly an indicator that Racecack is racing with a controller, the slightly jerkier movement, so it could be internet connection, but that would be my best guess anyway. Just see how the car is handling for Racecack, and we'll just get a good look at this carbon neutral Brocarga car for you. Very, very attractive design, and again, slow and difficult to handle the car. A penalty coming down the penalty line, which is, I think, after turn 9, before turn 10. We'll be approaching that very shortly. He's decelerating. So is Cutie Patootie, who had a similar penalty, as he's pushing very hard to try and get right on terms with Racecack once again. In terms of our championship standings, we have Zad Soldat is on 10, having scored 5 points in each of the first 2 races. However, that was through a combination of fastest lap in the previous race, because he did not manage to win that one. Cutie Patootie is in 3rd position with Racecack in between them on 8, Cutie Patootie on 4 as things stand. Like I say, our driver Branko out of position and out of the race today. No explanation from my information quite why that is, but Cutie Patootie will be tempted now to have a go at Racecack, as he takes a very wide entry and timed that not quite perfectly to try and get away. get on through past Racecat. We'll get a look at the fleet branding card, nice and close up now as well. Shades of the 1980s McLarens here, and early 90s as well. Just with a more orange tint than the sort of orangey red that was on the McLaren. But an attractive looking car as we run very closely behind Racecat in the Brokaga car to try and find a way through and past. And he's going to need to do this on the brakes down the inside, I feel. Not try and time a switchback because he's faster at the apexes. Racecat with a mistake though through turn 10. Just holding on as they head into 11 and 12. Very slow corners here and very slippery. I was about to say slippery, and of course it's that moment. Cutie Patootie almost stranded now, and he's had to reset because the car was beached on the exit. He's got very cold damaged tyres and he's trying to get back underway now, short shifting to try and generate some traction control manually in the car here, but very, very difficult race. Of course, keep your eye on the overtake as well as the turbocharge graphic, but the overtake next to the track map on the far right lower corner of the screen tells you how much they have got in the pocket and able to deploy. But again, work to do for Cutie Patootie, who's now a further 10 seconds back behind Racecat. Gazad Soldat, though, in the Ferrari liveried Super Formula, is working hard to try and get a decent enough gap here for the soft tyres to work. His rivals will be on the opposite strategy today, so they will be stronger at the end of the race. So he needs to make hay while the sun shines here for his pace. He'll have a pace advantage in this stint, as well as the pace advantage he had in qualifying. Though I didn't see the tyres that were being used in qualifying, so it could have been that they were on equal tyres at that stage. So that's Soldat then going through to set another late 129 fast lap now. 129.8, 129.2, 129.7 are his set of results so far, and he has not used barely a touch of overtake here on the circuit. So saving that for later on. Cutie Patootie has caught by about 2.5 seconds Racecat from the time we last saw him, and we'll wait to see if Racecat can answer that. Fastest lap at the moment with Cutie Patootie, but his pace has been rather inconsistent with a couple of major mistakes we've seen so far, at least anyway, while chasing down and trying to pass Racecat. That's a purple sector for Cutie Patootie. Let's join him on board then, as he's clearly pushing incredibly hard. We can see straight through the halo here, but not too misrepresentative actually, because the halo sits directly between the driver's eyes, so it tends to disappear. If anyone wears glasses, or if you hold your finger in between your eyes, you'll see how you can actually see through it, due to the benefit of stereoscopic vision we all have. Anyway, a second fastest sector then for Cutie Patootie, who on his own seems to be able to manage this race circuit just fine, although he runs wide on that difficult turn 12 again, into now the pejoratively called Mickey Mouse section as we go through this tricky and slow section that's now been discontinued on Formula One circuit racing, at least, thankfully, because it really does slow the cars down unnecessarily in that final sector. So a 26.7 is still the fastest time. It was just that miscalculation through turn 12 that cost Cutie Patootie a shot at a new fastest lap that time out. But Zad Soldat holds the lead from Racecat, and Cutie Patootie then are on this 7th lap of our 33. Still, pit stop still to come, and we'll wait to see. Keep my eye then on the overtake button, see if Cutie Patootie is going for any overtake deployment here. If he uses it, it will be out of the final corner and probably out of turn 9, just about to come. Looks to be nothing worth doing here. So bringing into turn 10, slightly wide of the apex through turn 10. And again, this corner really undoing Kudubitsuri, and I don't know quite the rules of racing here at the Brontest, but in many league racing communities, a quick reset to track like that is frowned upon. So I'll give him the benefit of the doubt as league owner that is allowed. But again, just a miscalculation. The car gets unloaded through those difficult corners. They are phenomenally low grip corners, turn 11 and 12, and unfortunately it has been a difficult portion there for Kudubitsuri. We have lost, unfortunately, Racecak, as Racecak is on his way back. So I think the drivers are waiting for him. Very, very sporting. And no, they are exiting the lobby, it seems. We've lost that Soldat as well. So I wonder if we will pick this back up again with a new lobby. We'll wait and see what befalls us here. The drivers have made it back in, so I will wait for race information. I'm assuming what will happen is we will reduce the number of laps. I'll take a quick break from voice communication while that happens. It's restart time then, following our red flag, and it's time to get racing. We get a bonus second start. We're here at the Circuit de Catalunya for the F1 Brontest Race 3. We look forward to seeing how the drivers go, and it is 5 red lights to build the excitement, build the revs. And it's dropped the clutch, and go. Zad Soldat with another slow start. Massive issue for Kudubitsuri, and Racecak had to take avoiding action, spins off, manages to recover the car, suffers a penalty in so doing, but Kudubitsuri up there into the lead of the race for the first time since our first green flag. But Zad Soldat straight back at him, and no compromising through there. Didn't want to give any more than the first corner in terms of first position and first place, and Kutubitiri unfortunately couldn't quite recover the racing line enough, and Zad Soldat sneaking his way back through. Fantastic stuff for Zad Soldat. Absolutely ruthless driving to get through those first two corners as he did, despite the incredibly poor start he had. We're down to 25 laps for this race, which will be just on the button there on the hover point for those medium tyres. Zad Soldat will start on the softs again as he did earlier on. Racecack also on the medium tyres. You've got a feel for Racecack here, because with that issue on the start, he had to take avoiding action from Kutubitiri's mistake, and on those cold tyres, Kutubitiri still very wide through turn 12 and into 13, and trying to bring those medium tyres up to temperature. It is a challenge, as we've seen already through that section of the racetrack for him. The Racecack has gone missing really from this group because of that penalty, and so will drop down far more than the 2.5 second off throttle. While you're off throttle, your competitors are full pinned to the bulkhead. Sparks fly from the back of these Super Formula cars, and our fleet branding car, Kutubitiri, settling into second position. We'll hope to try and close that gap of 2.8 seconds as much as he can, but we got a little bonus extra standing start there, which was fantastic. Unfortunately, a red flag due to Racecack's disconnection. Try and keep the racing going as much as we can. Fleet branding inviting us to exceed our vision, and here he is then running through. I wonder if we will see a change of livery again later on in the season from Fleet Branding. It seems very on brand for them to update their liveries and give us some alternatives. The first one wasn't bad by any stretch of the imagination. We are still awaiting Zad Soldat's new livery. Still hasn't got that one organised. He's focusing on his race practice, I think, and his pace has certainly been good enough. But now he needs to get his business name on the car as well, and then we can have a proper show for us rather than just touring around in a Ferrari. Good looking as that Ferrari actually is. Zad Soldat leads then on the start of lap 3 by 1.3 seconds. Kutubitiri has a gap to Racecack of 1.6 seconds. So both drivers certainly still well within the hunt here for the race win. And as I mentioned before, Racecack won race 2 with a fantastic different strategy to Zad Soldat, and Kutubitiri has copied that same strategy this time out as well. New fastest first sector for Kutubitiri, despite not using any overtake at this stage of the race as well. So he's got pace. Racecack hold the fastest lap record at the moment, a 1:28.099. So Kutubitiri settling in, and if we can just get through those difficult corners at in the third sector, and also turn 9, unfortunately, Kutubitiri. I think I'll have to take the blame for Commentator's curse on that one. That was all me. My apologies to the Fleet Branding driver and team. It's a very typical situation there. And Zad Soldat went off the circuit as well. So Zad Soldat down into second position. And we've seen this a couple of times this season from him. It's not always a guarantee that he is not going to make a mistake in the race. Racecack has a half-second penalty, so we'll come what may in this next lap, we'll give up this lead he has, but he takes the lead of the race. Full position swap on lap 3. Very unexpected from my perspective, at least, to see that happen, but Zad Soldat draws fully alongside Racecack at the moment, and we'll see them barrel down into turn 1. You can go side by side here. Racecack just had the nose ahead, but Zad Soldat managing to break that fraction later, and Racecack offline, almost got T-boned there by Kutubitiri, and it's all action as usual here in the F1 Brontest 24. Racecack spinning, filthy tyres. They're going to take a lot of cleaning up over the course of the next couple of corners. We'll stay with him because that car will, as you can see, the tyres getting darker and darker as the gravel dust wears off. fully back now, visually back to temperature, but visually back to condition, but are they up to temperature is the question here. He still has that penalty to pay. It didn't get added to at all, and he's really struggling with the rear of the car at the moment. Where is Kudiputidi? Well, he is at about 4 seconds away from the lead of the race, catching Zad Soldat and entering a difficult section for himself here, the turns 11 and 12 interchange. Now over the bumps, very much over the bumps of turns 14 and 15 into La Caixa, then the final corner, excuse me, the New Holland corner is the final corner, and it is a personal best despite that run through the bumps of turns 15 and 14. Racecack holds that fastest lap still though, a 1:28.0, but Zad Soldat stretches away by a further second as we run towards the portion in which we'll be looking for a pit stop with 20 laps to go of our total 33 that we began the race with, although they will of course have fitted fresh tyres at the start, so that soft tyre changeover to mediums will come later than we initially had expecting into the potentially even the final 10 laps of the race. But I feel like Zad Soldat will probably ride those soft tyres as late as he possibly can, and as with most red flag conditions in most categories of racing, there's a purple sector for Racecack. Now he just needs to string this final sector along much tighter, smoother through turn 12 this time. So this could be a new fastest lap of the race with Kudiputidi. A lot of steering angle on through the final chicane there, and looking good for a potential new fastest lap potentially, and there it is, a 1:26.791, and he catches Zad Soldat nicely, and he just needs to put that pressure on Zad Soldat, and it will be more likely to make the mistakes that we need to see to produce a good race here for us. How late will the drivers run to use the soft tyres? How early will Kudiputidi want to pit for those soft tyres? I imagine as early as possible, and the reverse is true for Zad Soldat. And then comes into the equation whether Zad Soldat wants to try and hold on to track position and therefore follow what Kudiputidi and Racecack do with their tyres. Racecack down 23.6 seconds from the lead of the race. I wonder if that's further penalties or a further off-track excursion for him. Let's go check in as Kudiputidi is catching Zad Soldat slowly but surely. But again, the rear end of the Super Formula under the once the turbo kicks in here, very, very difficult to handle, especially if, as I suspect, Racecack is using a controller. You need micro sensitivity on the trigger buttons here in order to make it happen for Racecack to get that traction down. I'm hoping our drivers are not using any traction control other than just short shifting. It certainly doesn't look like it. It looks like Brontest car and team are operating a fully manual car here, and Racecack just getting to grips with it. Looks like he's suffered a lack of practice this week potentially for this circuit, and is off the pace compared to Lago Maggiore round 2 when he was fantastic, especially in the latter portion of the race on the soft tyres. So let's see if he decides to put the soft tyres on early and try and get some grip here on the circuit as he bounces over the bumps and the car sparks down those bumps at the very end of the now very well used straight of Circuit de Catalunya. Kudiputidi's gap 1.5 seconds now. That is looking better and better, more and more healthy for him as he chases down Zad Soldat. Looks to have got those tyres in a good place so far. Looks to be able to handle the car well, and a big full slide. That's stylish but not quick through those two corners. And again, they come back to haunt him once again. Another struggle bus moment heading through turns 11 and 12 for Cutie Patootie, just as he was getting close enough to get a slipstream on Zad Soldat's car. So some 2.4 seconds lost over his personal best through that lap in totality, and most of that would have been through 11 and 12. Still hasn't really touched the overtake button, hasn't really degraded the tyres by very much at all either. So some way to go before he absolutely requires a pit stop, but he'll be looking forward to putting the soft tyres on, I'm sure, for that extra little bit of grip that he needs. As you can see then, the front left, very limited, very worn compared to the right hand tyres on Zad Soldat. Soft tyres now. He likes to race in front, does Zad Soldat. Likes to have a clear track and be able to focus on his own pace. Doesn't so much, it seems, at the moment through this season like running the same strategy, or the alternate strategy at least, of using the harder compound of the required tyres here. Here he is, and a big mistake though, coming out of those difficult corners that have been such a problem for the Fleet Branding team and the Ferrari team now of Zad Soldat. Disappointed to see him go right across the circuit. A hint of an unsafe release, but managing to, with the ghosting on of the cars, managed to avoid catastrophe as he dives into the pits then, having ruined that set of tyres. Doesn't like the way that they're behaving at the moment. Cutie Patootie will not necessarily know immediately, but probably know by now that Zad Soldat is in the pits, and he needs a perfect lap now, does Cutie Patootie, in order to leapfrog Zad Soldat, as Zad would also come out of the pits on cold tyres, so there'll be plenty of work for him to try and maintain the kind of pace he had earlier, or at least maintain the gap to Cutie Patootie. Now, what does Cutie Patootie decide to do? It's a little bit early, potentially, for soft tyres for him, so I think he'll keep running on tyres that are up to temperature and not letting go on him just yet. As we run then through the lap with him, it really counts this lap to head through these difficult corners now in the second half of the circuit without fault, without problem. A slight delay on the apex there through turn 10. Middle of the road really through 12, and then again another late apex and risking a lot heading over that yellow curb. His pace this time out, let's see. Last lap of 28.7, this lap of 32.3. So not a happy lap for him. Racecack is in second position after the pit stop of Zad Soldat, and he's still struggling through that final chicane. Zad Soldat can see him up ahead, has got medium tyres on now, so be feeling a little less comfortable than he was on the previous two laps. Got a personal best on lap 7, and then two slow laps with the in and out laps. Now we'll see what his pace can be, as it looks like it's Racecack off between turns 2 and 3, unfortunately for him, and he picks up a penalty again, which is adding insult to injury through there. So Racecack down into P3 once again after a brief spell up into P2. Almost led this race from the restart, but it just wasn't to be. So Zad Soldat's pace at the moment still going to be affected this lap by that error from Racecack, that distraction. Even if ghosting is on, it is so difficult for the drivers to not take avoiding action, not react to an accident in front of them. And you can't always trust the ghosting either. Sector 2, it was best of all so far for Zad Soldat, and he's still not using any overtake at all. So far the driver's not really balancing the throttle through those long corners to try and keep the turbo spooled up. The old Ayrton Senna trick. So away out of the final corner for Zad Soldat. That is a new fastest lap of the race, a 1:25.9, and on new tyres, that is a good strong pace for him. Now 17.5 seconds away from the leader, who has yet to pit. Of course, we have it is lap 11 of 25 here at the restarted F1 Brontest round 3. Another new fastest first sector by a very large margin that time for Zad Soldat. Really happy with the tyre condition as things stand right now, and he is pushing on. Nice and smooth application of the throttle through turn 8, possibly missing the apex of 9. But absolutely on the money through turn 10. Really difficult to get this corner right. Do you go slow in, fast out? Do you go for a medium approach? At the moment, Zad Soldat looking good, but not good enough, unfortunately. Just caught the rear wheel, I think, on the curb. May have touched a little bit of false or real grass there, and unfortunately just lost the rear end of the car. So went from a potential fastest lap to a much slower lap. He's still catching Kudipitudi hand over fist though on these fresh tyres, while Kudipitudi is on the older tyres. You can see a little bit used, not a lot, and I think with around 11 to maybe 8 laps to go, we'll be looking at a potential swap of tyres for Kudipitudi and for Racecak. Racecak is now 19.5 seconds behind Zad Soldat, and as far as I'm aware, still yet to pit. Yeah. So the race not coming to Racecak like it did last time round in Lago Maggiore. Still plenty to come though from this race, and you can never take your eyes off a motor race. As soon as you do, you know something's going to happen. Well, it's half a second faster in Sect 2 then for Zad Soldat than anyone has been before. Zad Soldat looking very good through this section, although just squirming around on the exit again. Obviously pushing very hard, and has caught Kudipitudi massively. So Kudipitudi must have had an error on that previous lap, because we saw Zad Soldat have a small mistake. 25.4, the new fastest lap of the race, and we can just see the Fleet branding car up ahead as we go to catch Kudipitudi running through. You could hear the tyres about to let go, or in the process of letting go there through the corner. Let's run on the front of the halo, shall we? Again, building the speed here, getting faster and faster is Zad Soldat, and now can firmly see the Fleet branding colours ahead of him, and would love to have a little bit of an overtake. Remember, Kudipitudi yet to pit, so it's not strictly speaking a fair fight here. And it looks like we're going to have a significant difference and some big gaps between our drivers come the end of the race, as we continue to watch on board with Zad Soldat as we close in and close in. And again, if we can maximise these last few corners, he'll be in a great position down the start-finish straight into the New Holland section. Final corner. Can we pick up a toe? We are slightly outside of the slipstream zone here. He'll be hoping to try and lean on the brakes. Don't get too close to the grass there on the left-hand side, as we just keep our attention on the car in front, but needing to close a little bit more in those final couple of corners. Kudipitudi looking strong through turn 1, but loses time through turn 3. There's a possible opportunity into turn 4, but no, just patiently waiting. We may wait for the slow turn 5 to come, but missing the apex slightly. Just a little bit of aero wash on the car there. as we look for a way through, looking for a late apex. Didn't quite get it to try and get on the throttle comparatively early, but piling the pressure on. And will we see a mistake come from Cutie Patootie? Turn 9 is a difficult one for both drivers here. One under pressure and one losing aero performance. Somehow held on through there and actually picked up a penalty in so doing. It was a little bit late being applied, but he picked up a penalty for running wide and on throttle. Had my suspicions there. Good apex, but maybe too much throttle application as we just lose the rear end once again. I must just underline how difficult these cars are to handle. And there we see Cutie Patootie with an error coming through, and he decides to come into the pits, but he's got a problem in the pit lane. He's turned full 180 in the pit lane. He's going backwards into the pits. He's reset to track. What on earth has just happened? It reset because he couldn't drive into the pits properly, and the game will not allow him to pit. He was hoping to get back round again, and he's been reset back to point into the forward-facing position and have to go through another lap. That will not please Cutie Patootie. There was a problem heading into the pits, ended up spinning, and then in order to try and sort that out, was reset back on the main portion of the track. We've got Racecack in the pits here, and he may have an opportunity now to try and move up forwards, because that mistake, a further penalty coming, he'll certainly be able to catch Cutie Patootie and the Fleet branding car as the tyres go on. It's now soft tyres with 10 laps to go in our race. It looks like it's going to be a happy driver here, Racecack, to receive a lot more grip on the car once he's got those up to temperature. It'll only take 1 or 2 sectors in order to get those tyres good, but he's made the mandatory pit stop, changed compound, and now out on the soft tyres for a Yahoo run through to the final part of the race. Just see the helicopter there up ahead. Just managing the throttle, managing everything as much as possible. I wonder if they've turned the overtake off. I'm sure I saw one of the drivers having used some overtake before. So we'll ride with Cutie Patootie, who presumably now is looking for a better run into the pit lane, taking it very steady here, and you can understand the hesitation to enter the pits. This is his one and only stop then to stop for the soft tyres. And will we see Racecack move up ahead? I think perhaps not. I think he was perhaps slightly too far back to close in, but he'll certainly get closer than he did before, as he's now entering turns 14 and 15, running through then and trying to make a pass. Looks like Cutie Patootie has been released from his pit box. We'll see him up the road. There he is. So with 9 to go, well, 10 whole laps to go for Racecack, having just crossed the start finish line, he can see how much work he has to do. He's got better conditions soft tyres at this particular moment, and will now try and find his way through and past Cutie Patootie. 4 seconds his gap. Cutie Patootie though 44 seconds away from the lead of the race with a 3-second penalty to pay, and that is going to bring Racecack right on his tail as they come up to turn 9. We'll get the penalty applied as soon as you see those yellow chevrons. There we go. And let's ride with Racecack, who will catch. Almost catching him all the way. And he just gets greedy on the brakes, taking over Branco's role here of last of the late breakers. Wanted to make that overtake, but he just left it too late on the brakes. And a little bit of patience would have gone a long way there. Never mind, we have a race on for that second position as we close out the final portion of our race. We are under single figures to go, and here he is, personal best through that lap, just by 36 thousandths of a second for Racecack. And as I say, work to do, but He's within 3 seconds of a potential second position now. Zad Soldat still has the fastest lap. Remember the points bonus for fastest lap for Zad Soldat at the moment, a 25.443, and I don't think anybody else has got close to that one. He's done that on the medium tyres. And here we have Kudibitsudi pressing the overtake button, trying to use it now, and they use the best out of these soft tyres. Zad Soldat back in the pits as he come back in for soft tyres potentially. This is pretty big for the race, a very unexpected avenue here for Zad Soldat. So again, he may be going for a 2-stopper here, just wants to secure that fastest lap and have a bit of fun out there on the racetrack, and you've got to love that. Not content with his gap at the moment, quite happy to fit a new set of softs on and have some fun at the end of the race, but it wasn't enough to close the gap. Visually, it closed it by a decent chunk, but Kudibitsudi is still getting on for 16 seconds behind Zad Soldat, but that has brought the field closer together now. So only take a mistake or two from Zad Soldat, and we have our cars very close together. It wouldn't be unheard of for a driver to want to have some fun on the racetrack and unfortunately overextend themselves. Zad Soldat's lead currently 13 seconds now, thanks to both his cold tyres but also Kudibitsudi pushing hard and getting the new fastest lap of the race, a 24.595 now, been using that overtake button quite a lot in the previous lap. Try and secure that fastest lap if he can. Still having to be very, very hesitant in the third sector. The car seemingly very comfortable in the first 2 sectors, but perhaps not enough downforce on the car to get through these very slow corners at the third sector of the racetrack, and that has been hurting the performance of the Fleet Brandon car to date. He might go away from this race and rethink that setup decision. We shall see though. 11 seconds now, the lead, and that has been eaten into significantly. We'll see if Zad Soldat is tempted to use that overtake button. He is not just yet. The overtake boost has a huge impact, but he just wants to continue bringing those tyres into a good operating window to have a go here as we approach the final 6 laps of the race. Racecack is 19 seconds away from the lead, 8.6 away from second position. Continues to work hard, does Racecack. Despite being off the pace both in qualifying and, you've got to say, throughout the race, he is still trying his absolute best and not giving up. Just to underline that, his personal best lap of the race so far in the previous lap out there on a 27.5. So building the pace, running this race almost as an extended test session here for the Catalunya circuit. It does look like he has suffered for practice throughout the week, potentially. Kudibitsudi now 7.5 seconds away, spending that overtake boost allowance, bringing himself closer and closer to the lead of the race. Will we have, at this level, we will potentially have a race on our hands for first place at the end of the race, but Zad Soldat yet to use his overtake very much at all. Just a couple of pixels there on the lower right of your screen. Looking a lot more consistent though at this stage. Zad Soldat looking very comfortable, and I anticipate we'll be pushing for the fastest lap pretty soon. His lead down to 6.2 seconds. He's on the soft tyres now, of course, made 2 pit stops to everyone else's 1, just to underline his dominance, pole position, and he'll hope to try and lead every lap and get the fastest lap as well as the race win. Take home all the plaudits, all the bragging rights. It is hugely important to these drivers who is the faster driver over the course of our season, of course. And here we go then, a 28.8 that time out, but just trying to make this as comfortable as possible, have the tyres as good as they can be for the end of the race. That time at Cutie Patootie was a 4.6 second lap, a 4.6 second gap, excuse me, with a 26.4. So trying to get as close as possible. Zad Soldat might just be playing with him here a little bit. Still though, fastest lap on lap 17 for Cutie Patootie, 24.595, and a good bonus amount of points for that. Allowed in the previous round Zad Soldat to come home with as many points as a win without actually taking the win, thanks to those extra bonus points for fastest lap. Big weighting is applied to the driver with the fastest race lap in the Brontest racing rules. Cutie Patootie continues to push, now down to 3 seconds. Will be feeling pretty good in the car right now, saving some boost for later. Not quite as much though as Zad Soldat has saved, as we start lap 22 of the foreshortened restarted race around Catalonia. 25.9, another good lap there for Cutie Patootie relative to the leader Zad Soldat in front, nearly a minute now ahead of Race CAC over the course of our race. And the car looking very good in the sunshine. Zad Soldat closing down, but I've got to fancy at some point in the next couple of laps starts to use that overtake button, or is he saving it all for one amazing lap? We shall see. I will keep an eye and try and watch that lap as soon as things start to get interesting with his pace. But right now, Cutie Patootie chasing him down. Little kick up of dirt there. You can see how hard he's pushing in second place here. 2.1 seconds now, that gap. He has about a quarter of his boost remaining. Lap 22, almost complete now for R2 at the front of the field. Zad Soldat looking comfortable, and I think is just playing here. Will he start to use that boost on this lap, or is he saving it all for the final 2? I fear he might be. Gap now down to 1.4 seconds, or is he just waiting until Cutie Patootie gets close enough in the final lap? But you don't want to leave it too late and not be able to use all of your boost. So we shall see. It is lap 23 of the foreshortened race. And Cutie Patootie now 1.1 seconds. Surely, at some point, Zad Soldat has to start thinking about a run for the fastest lap. Got to fancy he starts using it next lap, because and off the race circuit goes Zad Soldat now, and that is huge. He's been saving that boost for the final 2 laps. Has he saved it too much? He now picks up a 1.5 second off throttle penalty. Next lap he'll only have 1 shot now at the fastest lap of the race. Has he saved this too late? And now Cutie Patootie into the lead of the race. Cold tyres for Zad Soldat, can't quite get the car on the circuit, and it is possibly managed to game himself out of a potential win here by saving everything to the end of the race. He allowed Cutie Patootie to get close, the pressure to get applied, and a mistake with 2.5 laps to go for Zad Soldat. This is massive for the Ferrari driver. Now we hit the boost finally with 2 laps to go. but Cutie Patootie does have some boost left to play with. This is a huge development at the end of the race, and now we'll see what kind of pace can Zad Soldat put down, and another twitch on the rear of the car. Huge moments now in our race, and it was all lit up right at the end. Exactly what our fans are looking for. Into turn 4. He's fast, but this lap will not be a fastest lap thanks to that penalty. If it is, that's incredible, but I don't think he's going to get himself a decent fastest lap attempt on this lap. He's going to have to leave himself at least half the boost quotient for the run out of the final corner and onto the last lap. You are limited to what you can press this boost button for. And there is then the heartbreaking moment. What is Cutie Patootie doing? Well, he has a little bit of boost left, but probably nowhere near as much now as Zad Soldat, who needs to close the gap, needs to use this to actually rescue a win, let alone go for the fastest lap of the race. And now we'll see some drama. We'll see some close racing on the final lap as we head into the last three corners of the penultimate lap of the race. It is all to do for Zad Soldat as he presses the overtake boost on the way through the apex of the final corner to try and get as close as possible. Looks like Cutie Patootie, with the rear lights flashing, is doing exactly the same thing. Can this be rescued by Zad Soldat? Massive moments here for the race. Just the smallest mistake and it's going to cost him. It's going to cost him his hunt for the win and for the fastest lap. Cutie Patootie still holding that fastest lap at 24.595, and that is not quick enough at the moment for Zad Soldat. He's going all out here for a potential race win. Cutie Patootie will park it on the apex, and it is nose to tail racing on the final lap of our race here, despite having 33 laps over the start of this race and a red flag stoppage. Cutie Patootie is holding on. How can he manage to resist the Ferrari from the rear? He's going to try. He's going to go to the inside. This is going to cost Zad Soldat a run for the fastest lap at very least. Who is going to make it through turns 10 and 11? And that is a classic Max Verstappen defense there. Just inviting Zad Soldat to have his own accident off the circuit. Zad Soldat had no choice. It is going to be a drag to the finish here. He's going to go for it down into the inside. They make contact. They interlock wheels. Cutie Patootie holds on at the moment through the final chicane, but no, late on the brakes. He's not going to like the treatment he just suffered. He spins at the end. Zad Soldat timed his run at the end, and he's going to take the win at least under the checkered flag on the road. Whether the stewards have anything to say about that finish, I'm not entirely sure, but Cutie Patootie probably won't like the way he was handled off the circuit, but he did give a little bit through the exit of turn 10 and 11. Cutie Patootie will take the fastest lap and second place on the road, and that is how the race will finish. Now, finishing with a 2-second penalty, unfortunately, is Racecack, and has been a little off the pace, shall we be kind and say, today. And this lap is going to be no different. But his fastest lap was the penultimate lap of the race, so he has been improving throughout the course, and he manages a 25.0 as his top lap. 24.5 is the fastest lap. Racecack having a little bit of fun with us at the end of the race, but despite that massive drama, that final lap of absolute incomprehension the win goes the way of Zad Soldat with the pole position, but not the fastest lap of the race. Really entertaining stuff right at the end there. I'm not sure whether the result will actually stand to the end, but I'm not sure likewise whether Cutie Patootie was pushed off at the end, or whether he just made a mistake heading off into that final chicane of the race. But a fastest lap will take small and relatively cold comfort for him for second place. The winner, though, Zad Soldat, after 33 laps of racing, 25 after the restart, he manages to secure that with a huge pace advantage throughout most of the race and qualifying. but with some inconsistencies, ended up finishing incredibly close into the final sector of the race. Then comes Kudiputudi, some 19 seconds after a spin, and a race cack, still running, it says, but has finished out there into that third position. We will be back for the F1 Brontest next week, and hope to see you all there. And we will continue with this wheel-to-wheel fantastic racing. For now, though, this is Webbo saying goodbye, and I will catch you on the next race day.